now started.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome on behalf of the SFH Foundation to another Uncommon Dialogue. Today the topic is the real, faith and identity on the path to awakening. For the past 40 years, Shaykh Fadhlalla Haeri has pursued the science of self-knowledge and awakening to higher consciousness and has written more than 40 books on Islam, Sufism, and the realities of the path to awakening to what it means to be fully human. Today, speaking in this dialogue with Shaykh Fadhlalla is Safia Khan. Safia is a medical student from the UK, and she first met Shaykh Fadhlalla 3 years ago when she was 18, which, according to her, she says it marked the start of her inward journey. Now, after completing her first degree, she's connecting with Shaykh Fadhlalla Haeri again as she transitions into adulthood and a new stage in her education and career. I know that Safia has had a lot of questions which have been accumulating, and I will allow her to start putting them forward, and we will watch now as the dialogue unfolds between Safia and Shaykh Fadhlalla. Bismillah, Safia, it's all yours.
Walaikum salam, and thank you so much for that introduction. I'm just going to read the questions off my phone, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the first question that I wanted to put to Shaykh was, how are we supposed to understand concepts such as hell and punishment? Because I know that for a lot of young people, this is something that might feel a bit jarring when you put it in the context of trying to understand God as all merciful.
All of human experiences are in a zone of consciousness that shifts between two extremes, which we call duality: alive and dead, awake and asleep, acceptable and rejected, good and bad, conscious and non-conscious, on and on and on. So the issue of reward and punishment is part of that. We have been inwardly programmed to wanting the best, wanting excellence, wanting perfection, wanting that which is eternally good and present and reliable. So if I don't get replenished by such a connection or such a state, I suffer. So suffering is punishment. Now, I often think others are causing me to suffer because they didn't give me what I asked or wanted, or they did not realize that I'm getting sick, so they could not provide the right medicine, on and on. So it's our life. Reward and punishment is part of the experience of the world of duality, which has emanated from unity, from oneness, and leads back to that infinitude of cosmic oneness. As part of that. So religions, scriptures, teachings, revelations take what we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis to another level of consciousness. That's about it. There's nothing new. Nobody had invented the idea of hell and paradise. It's in me. You know, I'm seeking paradise all the time. I've been looking at some beautiful pictures of French Polynesia, Bora Bora and so on. And every time I find a place, I say, oh, this is where I'd like to be. And soon I find something better. There's no such thing as a perfect place. There is no such thing as a perfect partner. There is no such thing as a perfect job. There is perfection that pervades the universe. And it appears in countless ways. That's all. We're all the same in that. We're all groping. This is more perfect. This is better. And we call the others who are not able to do it stupid. So that's it.
Thank you. Shall I ask the next question?
Well, I mean, is that, yes, if you're satisfied.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure.
She can never be satisfied, Baba. She is a human being, an intelligent one. So how can she ever be satisfied? Don't ever ask that question. Carry on, go on.
I mean, I think Shaykh covered it pretty much. I guess it's difficult for me. I can understand as a concept of, okay, hell is within, heaven is within, because these are states of consciousness which we access. But it's more, how does that fit with the theology, which sort of tells us, okay, if you accumulate these good deeds after you die, this is the place that you'll be in. Is that a metaphor, or is that like?
Yeah, there's no place. It's a state.
Okay.
That which is infinite, that which is boundless, and that which is absolute is not a place. It's a state. Every place, every situation touches an aspect of that or fits an aspect within that. So you have experienced many hells already. I can tell you. Almost every 2-3 months you have experienced the hell, and you thought this is the worst, but next time is even worse. Also, we try to experience paradise. Oh, it's so wonderful. And then suddenly some noise comes, what disturbs it. We are practicing now the idea of bliss, joy that is boundless, and try to avoid that which is painful, dreadful, unacceptable. So the metaphor revealed to us that when I have no ability to do anything or change anything, which is death, I have no more a body, I have no more a mind, then I'll be propelled by virtue of where I have been poised and aiming at to either eternal hell or eternal paradise. That's it. Says that if you have practiced paradise now, then the ayah in the Quran says, and there are those in paradise, they say, we have experienced all of this before. We only want light. It's a practice. We're work in progress.
I like that. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go on to the next question. What should we look for in partners or companions who will mirror and journey with us on the path? I think this is something that a lot of young people worry about, which is natural. Like, are we going to find a partner? Where are we going to find them? What are the qualities that we should look for?
Well, I make now a cosmic announcement. I guarantee you one thing, and that is called disappointment. Everything in existence is based on duality, up and down, he and she. So it's important to experience friendship, camaraderie, partnership, all of these things as part of reflective mirrors. You like to all the time see through the present consciousness. You want to rise higher. That's why we seek people who inadvertently often enable us to rise in consciousness. So you only want yourself. You're only looking for yourself, not a partner. But you can't see yourself because there is no credible mirror, which is only another human being. So this other human being will challenge you. Initially, you think, oh, he is going to be so kind, so gentle. Before I even sneezed, he knows what I want. He is going to honor me. He is going to make me feel like a miserable little goddess, and all of that rubbish. So it reminds me of a friend of mine who wanted to get married. Eventually he did. So his friend who was been pushing him to get married asked him. The metaphor was that marriage is like a barrel. Like in the East, they have honey or whatever. The top part of it is fantastic, is the best. But as you go deeper, it will become muck. So he asked him, he said, did you open the barrel of honey? He said, yes, but I think I opened it the other way around. So you never know, Baba. But you need friends, you need partners, you need help, you need associates, you need all of that. Until such time you realize you knew all of this due to a cosmic source in your own heart. It wasn't the partner you were looking for. You were looking for your true inner soulmate, which is in you. But you look outer, go around until after 1,000, one of them say, oh, thank you, I think it's actually in me. I don't need you anymore. Goodbye.
So in terms of finding mirrors to find that inner soulmate,
correct.
What is a mirror? Like, what should we be looking for to be reflected back at us?
We want to see the essence of it, the root of it, the origin of it. We're all seekers of essence. We're seeking our own essence. We're seeking the light of God within us. But to begin with, you look at outside, the baby looks at the mother. The face of the mother is like the goddess, and the bosom and all of that. We're looking for that which is permanent and eternal. These are the two words. If you bear in mind, then you will only see reality in its perfection, timeless way. Eternal, and infinite. Not in space and time. You are a prisoner of space and time. So am I. That's why I can talk to another prisoner. You see, and we can mislead each other. We are all seeking our origin, which is the same as our destiny, which is not in space and time. This zone of consciousness of space and time has emerged from that infinitude. But the mind or consciousness cannot comprehend infinitude. So it has to begin with finitude, limitations. And within it, it resents it. You know what I mean? How many times you resented your parental advice? Wonderful. You have to carry on. That is your soul is doing it. Your own inner soul, which is boundless, which is not subject to any limitations, pushes you to that. But here you are caught in the prison of your body. And worse than that, the mind. So you are limited. But there is an inner drive towards the limitless, which is your own true self, which we call soul or spirit.
Thank you. I think that's such a nice way to view it. We are our own soulmates. So.
No, your soulmate is within you, and we need to start with the outer. It's unavoidable. That stupid mistake of otherness is unavoidable. The other, somewhere else. And that's why we are all FOMOs. We don't want to miss out.
You're missing out.
We can't miss out. You don't want to. What about me? That's the sense of justice.
FOMOs.
Huh? FOMO.
FOMO.
He said FOMO. Right.
We're all the same. We want everything. We want everything instantly. That's why impatience. Really, we remain a 2-year-old child, but now tied up in this, polite way. Poor child. The 2-year-old. Now. You can't delay it. So this is who we are. We have to laugh at ourselves and enjoy it. And true enjoyment will happen to be fully there without a tarnish when you know all of these are different reflections of the real you, which is boundless, timeless, is divine. So you have to reconcile the divine and the bovine.
Well, I mean, this wasn't one of the questions that I was going to specifically put to you, but it has kind of raised this thing of, you're talking about patience and we want things instantly. It's quite difficult because as a young person, all the sort of outer meaningless things I can access instantly. Like if I want to order a package online, I can get it the same day. So how do we cultivate patience in acquiring the things that really matter? And when I say acquiring the things, I mean accessing the inner divine. How do you develop patience when we're so used to having instant gratification?
Suffer from the outer bovine. We need to suffer. That's why globally we have been put to that. We need to suffer so much from the outer stupidity of pretending to be gods or kings or have everything, until such time you're really content with contentment itself. Once you know you can order everything online, anytime, any minute, well, why do you order? It's already there. So what do you want? And what you need is minimal. But we become accumulative, and that's why it's very embarrassing. And this period of lockdown causes a lot of anger, because you go to your cupboards and look at all the clothes. Where are you going to wear them? Always you need a jumpsuit in the house, and that's it. But in the past you used to think you can give it away, and some poor miserable someone in Burundi will be pleased with your fur coat or something silly. But now who you give them to? Nobody wants them. Time is gone, and it's going to move faster. This is the good news. Whatever you thought is acquisitive, important, really. And I've just looked into your cupboard of shoes. And what are you going to do? 17, 18 pairs? Well, what are you going to do? I've just counted them. So those are the visible ones. But that is me, because the real me has access to infinite wealth. So the reflection of it, the so-called me was to mimic that. The so-called me is a fool. Not a fool that's edible, just a fool. Really, it's a fool. We have to laugh at it and carry on and watch out. Otherwise it becomes too heavy, too stodgy, too much of character building. And we don't want to build anything. We don't want to do anything. Everything is already there. But I need to stop being distracted by the outer. Be patient, be quiet. Patience is terrible. Patience is awful. Who wants to be patient? I want it now, because all what there is now. Reality is only in the now. I don't want to hear something that was said a month ago. It's too old. I want it now, because it's alive. It has been energized by that amazing divine potency, which is ever present in the now. We want it fresh. Now. And it's ever now.
So I think this kind of ties into the next question. This basically is the next question. How do we access higher consciousness amidst so many distractions? And I think specifically for a young person like myself, all I have to do is open my phone and there's notifications and social media and everything else. And even if you try and detach from that to an extent, it does feel like we're so overwhelmed with nonsense, basically. How do we find time to develop a relationship with the divine, basically?
There is only the divine. There is only reality that pervades everything, including the nonsense. It is the shadow of it. If you take all the divine names, there are a few hundred of them, and if you just take the master, the greatest one, Rahman, its shadow is Shaitan. You can't have one attribute, such as a great virtue, without its shadow side, which is the vice. They always are together. So there is only supreme consciousness. There is only full consciousness. There is only the cosmic divine light forever. But I can only perceive it through its opposite, which I am also inwardly programmed to resent it. I don't like shadows. I don't like lies. I don't like deception. But I am a deception. My body and mind have deceived me that it is me. I am suffering from my own deception, because the truth of it is a nur or light or a consciousness or a reality that is boundless. It's in my heart. But I am born within bounded space and time, the so-called me. 4 or 5 years old, I say I, me, 12, 17, 20 years old, still me, I. This is very deceptive. The same thing you're saying, I, until you're in your 70s. The I of the 16-year-old is the same as the I of the 60-year-old. It's a deception. It's all deception upon deception upon deception. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. The Quran says, and you think you are deceiving and plotting? Allah is the ultimate plotter. You are learning that from your origin, to plot and deceive. So the eternal light is so immense and so powerful, nothing will ever can remain in its power. It's like the sun, you can't look at it. You have to have a bit of a shade. Your inner light, the divine in you and in me and in him and in her, the only reality is too immense, so it has to be filtered. That's why also life on Earth took a few billions of years until the UV and many, many other radiations that will not allow that fragile life to grow, for the filters to be in place. So you don't need to hanker after higher consciousness. This is fantasy. This is another spiritual materialism. I want higher consciousness. Don't you know we are seekers? We're seekers of a fortune. Somebody seeks the fortune in a tangible way, you're even more of a fool. You're seeking it in an intangible way.
Yeah.
You don't need to be concerned about higher consciousness or God. It's taking care of itself. You and I have to care for the animal in us, the stupid in us, the suspicious in us. You and I need to care to reduce distraction, less on cell phone. That's all. You don't need to do more. You don't need to know the address of number one in Cosmos. No, just stop addressing anything else. That does itself. Really, that's what it is. The truth is that there is only the truth. It can only be perceived through suffering from falsehood. That's all.
That's like the shortcut answer, isn't it? For anyone who's on a spiritual journey.
There's only the now. There is
just
no
switch
cover,
the phone off.
There is no short. There is no long. There is only this infinitude of the moment. But I got used to noise and busy and to be wanted and to be admired, all of that. So I've got used to that camouflage and personal stupidity, and I suffer from. Once you admit it, you laugh at it. That's it. You don't need to.
It's true. I think also what you've said about the spiritual materialism, it's really like it becomes an identity in and of itself, which is like self becomes its own like nafs. It's like a mutated little cancer that grows from your animal self. It's like your spiritual animal self. Really helpful to know, rather than driving forward on that path, just like focus on the exact moment you're in now and cut out the distractions.
See, duality is not only in the
and it's not that hard.
Duality is not only in the realm of our personal human experiences. It's cosmic. Once it appeared at the point of the Big Bang, it's twos. So that's why everything occurred in less than a second. Everything was fully designed on its way from the moment it emerged from that mysterious boundlessness. So the same thing is the duality of higher consciousness. It gives rise to lower consciousness. So our present so-called consciousness has its second, third, fourth degrees of real. And we measure it. This is more real than the other, meaning it lasts longer, or it carries into a wider space. So we say that's more real. So the ultimate reality is not subject to any space and time. And that is also in me and in you and in him and in her. But to access it, we need total silence. Silence in every sense. Silence in going beyond the illusion that anything exists even. They asked Imam Ali, how did you know Allah? He said, by stripping all attributes of that light. No attribute, pure light. And that is in us. Not easy to access it because we are still very much subject to the echoes of the noise that we have made and the dreams we've had and all of the other disturbances. So it's a process. Each one of us is work in progress. And according to how well you have perfected silence, you are at the zone of infinitude. Then you are ready to leave your body and mind cheerfully. Not, well, yeah, I'm so sorry he died. What do you mean? It's the most natural thing to do. But no, because we have got used to this, so I'm so sorry he died. And you have to pretend to be now miserable. Everybody knows it's the most natural thing to do. So you have to celebrate it.
Mm.
So you have work to do.
Always. I think the next thing that it sort of ties on, but it's sort of its own concept. I think, as you've said previously in this conversation, that our soul resents boundaries because it's boundless. So that means, I think I personally, and I know other maybe young Muslims, we struggle with this concept of submission. So how would you explain that in a way which it doesn't feel like, I mean, it is essentially slavery, but how, I guess that term feels like politicized or loaded. I don't know how to explain.
There is only submission. There is only submission. Even when you resent it and you rebel against it, that's another submission.
Mm.
You're submitting now to your inner desire of being boundless, which is an echo of your real reality. There is only submission. You're submitting to your state now, wanting to know more, wanting to grow higher on the ladder of consciousness, from boundless, limited consciousness towards its origin, which encompasses it even now, which is boundless. There's only that. There's only submission. You're submitting to your own state. You can't deny that. You're who you are as you are now. But equally, you are aspiring towards a zone that has no suffering in it, that has no fear in it, that has no sorrow in it. That is the state of your own soul. That's all. It's not a theory. It's not an idea. We, you, I, he, and she are doing it. That's all. We're in the same laboratory.
So how do we submit to the right state then? Because if I'm submitting to either my desires or submitting to my soul, how do you make a conscious effort to choose the right one?
The desires are only the outer flavor of the inner state. The inner state is ever perfect. The outer says, oh, I am not perfect, which is the self, which is the ego. The ego is a shadow of the soul. And the shadow wants to have the soul, to be the soul, but it can't. So I am a light and its shadow. I have to address the shadow. I cannot deny the shadow. And the shadow always distracts me from being the real me. So it's doing its job. So though it makes me suffer, but it actually is my teacher. So the ego is often renounced, your whims, your attachments, your desires. No, I suffer from them, I subdue to them, but they're my teachers. So I avoid it. It's all a process. The only thing that especially parents fear is that if a child whom they love and they want to arise to their fullness, if what they have entered, whether it is drugs, whether this, that, is not reversible. That is the fear. If it is reversible, what's wrong with that? You make mistakes every minute. Every time you make a mistake of breathing in, you have to also breathe out. So that's a mistake. So it is work in progress towards the light which is in you, within you, out of you, above you, heavenly, and on and on and on. So initially, one needs a bit of friendly reflection from parents, but they end up being very much of a task-oriented, which is quite boring. All the time, do this and don't do that. You can't do this. Why can't I? This is not the same time as you were born in. 100 years ago, most human beings had to toe the line with their parents, with their clan, with their tribe, because they wouldn't have survived if they are thrown out. But now, actually, you not only survive, you thrive if you are thrown out. You do better away from the parents. Times have changed, but the orientation is the same, towards higher consciousness, towards reality, towards the real. There is only the real.
It's so like, I don't even want to say anything.
Don't.
It's all been said.
Neither would I. It is like that. You see, you need to corner the nafs, the lower self. Now you've got it. What do you want? Now you have this now. Now you are on your 19th marriage and you still are not content. Now you have got 30 jobs and you have changed your CV 600 times. Now what? Now what? Oh. The perfection is already there, but I wasn't there. I was somewhere else in my own silly mind, trying to bring contentment to a jumble of neurons and billions of connectedness in those neurons. It's crazy. Really, they're all stupid, including the speaker. You have embraced this fantasy of this human situation. That is the madness. And sanity is to realize it first. It's madness. But it can lead to supra-sanity, not just sanity, beyond sanity. There are always these four levels. One is below the measure, not intelligence, stupid. Then normal. That's normal. Be normal, be normal. Then being super. That's why the poor parents, they push their children to be super. So many of the children pretend to be super, because that's what my parents were. The parents don't know better. They knew at their time you had to be this and that. So then comes supra. No longer the best, beyond the best. Forget the rest. These are the stages. Most people touch upon the supras level. They have an epiphany. They have a touch of something beyond this conditioned consciousness. But the supreme consciousness is the real. That's all what there is. Well done. I've learned a lot. Thank you very much. Don't forget to send the feed to PO Box number 1.
Wait a moment. Can I interject here? Shaykh Fadhlalla, if you are awakening, but it's very hard when those people around you are not.
That's why I like to run away from them.
You're talking about it's sanity to realize the madness. But, I think people like, of Safia's generation, there's a lot of cultural conditioning that comes as part of the baggage of the identity of being Muslim. And I think I've heard you elsewhere speak about the ease with which youth get it. They understand it more easily than their parents do. But then they still have to put up with their parents. They still have to put up with the cultural milieu of the expectations and the judgments and the disappointments. And it's quite burdensome. So,
unavoidable. They just have to be a bit patient. She won't last another few years. She is away from them. And she can write them nice letters and once a birthday card with a heart usually. And she pays for it, And the mother says, how nice, I was remembered on my birthday. Silly mother, never mind. That's what it is. She was silly to be being born, not just silly to have been a mother. Never mind, it will pass. No, it is unavoidable. The issue of generational clash, gap, complementarity is a wonderful metaphor of the chain of consciousness. There are links from the boundless cosmos to the limitation of me being born here. So there are different chains. So they are performing. So one little link. They're doing their best for people. Tell them, yes, you are right, and do what you like to do. That's it. That's my advice to Safia. And if you like to get out of that cultural thing, do that. You can change your name, you can change your things, but embrace a new religion, something that has no bad history. We are Sartuka.
Where will you find that?
No, I give it to you. Call it Sartuka. It embodies all of the religions and more. So you didn't know we are a Sartuka clan. Or invent your own name. Look, we have benefited from all of the past. They were vital to bring us out from savagehood, from absolute rotten, the worst of animals in us. We are the worst animals. Look what we have done to the earth. Look what I was telling you earlier, I was looking for Bora Bora, and then I found one island I thought it is. Then I was told that it's a tiny island, just about 400 meters by 20. They say, you think it's so fabulous and so beautiful? I say, yeah, man, fantastic. They said, every year on this island, there are 5 tons of plastic that needs to be cleared. This is who we are. So it had to be groomed. That is what the prophetic being, enlightened being, and so many other events in the last 20, 30,000 years. We've come a long way. We've benefited from all of that. And then the Muhammadi model is the most wonderful completion of the Abrahamic revelations. Every time there is something revealed, it becomes distorted. Nothing ever occurs that 2 people can say this was exactly what happened. They differ. This is the nature of reality. As it appears, it's receding from its origin of truth. So it becomes different. No, it wasn't quite the same. He didn't say it exactly like that. He said it with a little smile. So it was a bit of a circle. It's endless. We have been the fortunate recipients for magnificent recurrent occurrence of many true, revealed, great knowledges that simply said there is an absolute reality and we are living in relative reality. Relative reality proves the absolute reality. So let go in it. And don't deny it, but calibrate it with the absolute. How? Stop everything else. Stop the cell phone, stop the movement of the neurons, electronics, tiny little currents. Just be present. You recharge. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Safia, have you had your questions answered to your contentment? Do you have any more?
I think I've had my questions answered to the point that whatever questions I have, I know what the answer is. I've just got to take a bit of time to, remind myself of that. I think
it's a reorientation. It's a reorientation. We have been brought up in a very low-level, materialistic, basic, childish science, cause and effect, and these are there, but they all emanate from a source that is pre-cause and effect, or supra-cause and that's all. So it needs to be reoriented. We all have been for the last few hundred years suffering from this conditioned experience it, because it's all based on output, result. Show me. That's why we have put zillions of tons of concrete on tiny little poor earth here and there and created havoc. We've created hell now globally. How are you going to undo it? Right? So we need major shake-up, distraction. We are in hell, actually. All of us as thinking, aspiring human beings, we think our salvation lies in being more powerful, more dominant, more forceful. That's why we've created all these arms. It's stupid collectively, and we don't know how to get rid of it. Billions of dollars are spent every year to maintain the nuclear warheads. What are you going to do? Who is going to throw it on home? No, we have taken our folly and our low-grade stupidity to a point that you never really know whether it's the last extinction or whether we are given respite. Every day I change my mind. I don't know which is which. Mind is to be changed, so enjoy it. Heart is to be constant. When you put mind and heart together, then you put Humpty Dumpty together.
I guess that idea of there is a constant reality, and we know what it is, and we have.
No, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. We have an idea of his dilution version of it. You don't know what it is. You don't know God. Only God knows God. And if you lose everything else and you enter into the Godhood, then you can't even say you know. You just are silent. You are in boundless joyfulness. That's all. And don't look for anybody, because you won't find them. The main thing is you have a basic blueprint in that the truth lies in you. The truth is also out of you. The truth is everywhere. And in truth, there is only truth. And now you have to then keep that, if you like, basic sketch and do your best. And that's right. And you find every day you are a bit closer to have got rid of illusions. You can't say I'm closer to truth. You can say I've got rid of many of my illusions, including there are teachers, gurus, murid. There are, but they're boring. They'll change. Ultimate teacher is in your own heart. Yeah, they're not reliable. They die. I don't like to rely on something that dies. That's very unfair.
Allah. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Thank you so much, Sheikh Fadhlalla. Thank you, Safia, for being bold to put your questions to Sheikh Fadhlalla. And I think really for me, what really stood out was this idea of calibrating yourself, because you are in this relative realm with the absolute. And, that higher consciousness is not just out there somewhere for us to go far away and seek and find, but it's already here within us. And but we just have to sort of recognize it and learn how to turn away. And as you said, through suffering, and none of us really like suffering, and all the trouble starts because the ego is really trying to compete with the soul, and yet the soulmate is already within us. So thank you, Sheikh Fadhlalla, for clarifying these things. Thank you very much. And I
didn't clarify anything. I just turned away from the shadows.
Well, I hope that
wherever you turn, the light of truth is. But you have to turn. So maybe if I'm still around and foolish enough, maybe in 6 months' time we have an update on this.
We'll see. I would love that.
Yeah. And then she can quote to me few of the pertinent ayahs. There is none other than the one. The Quran says Allah forgives everything except the confusion of not seeing the one behind the two. That's called shirk. Everything else can be moved, eradicated, except not saying the one before the two, after the two. Once you have done that, then you have done whatever is really possible for human beings. You're ready to stay longer, you're ready to leave. Cheerfulness pervades over you. And others become jealous, maybe. So you have to hide it. Occasionally, you have to be grim. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Thank you both very much. And I think we will end now here. Salam alaikum. And to everybody who's been watching, do subscribe for more such events and dialogues. Thank you very much. Wa fi amanillah.